Log Horizon, Volume 1, Chapter 1, Part 4.
Come in. No need to hold back. Take a seat. Please take a seat too, Naotsugu.
After entering a room deep within the guild hall, Maryelle pounced on a couch full of pink pillows and gestured for Shiroe and Naotsugu to sit.
This is quite a feminine room.
That's right. I am the guildmaster after all, so my room needs to reflect my dignity of a guildmaster.
Pink pillows, teddy bears, a princess bed, a painting of a noble-looking dog, and curtains with yellow laces. These decorations, in Shiroe's eyes, had nothing to do with the word dignity. Shiroe felt distraught staying in a place like this. He wouldn't feel this way if it were a screen from a game, but he could feel this atmosphere as he entered this place for real. He felt restless, like an intruder in a private room. Fortunately, it was the forthright Maryelle's room. If it was the private room of any other girl, Shiroe would have definitely retreated. But even if the decor was too flashy, the room of the guildmaster was very spacious. They also had 5 to 6 rooms for work and storage space. A rental for a guild hall like this must be quite high. 40,000 with an upkeep of 80. About this kind of price, right? Shiroe estimated in secret. This was the first time he was invited into this guild hall. How's your side coping with this, Mary?
There are 19 people online, including me. 18 of us are in Akiba. Everyone is afraid and is staying inside the guild hall. Don't be too concerned. They won't hear us if we aren't too noisy.
Maryelle must have been prepared for this, as she answered Shiroe's query smoothly. 18 in Akiba, meaning one of them was in another zone. Shiroe found out after asking that the other member was on an errand in another city.
From what we know, Shibuya, Minami, Susukino, and Nakasu are in the same state.
This meant all 5 cities in Akiba's server were in the same situation. Maryelle should have confirmed this using her wide network of friends.
Could it be that?
That's right. The intercity transport gate has stopped functioning. We've been isolated.
Maryelle answered Naotsugu's queries. This was new information. Akiba, Shibuya, Minami, Susukino, and Nakasu. These 5 places were the 5 major player cities in the Japanese server. Apart from these 5 cities, there were also many cities populated by stores and NPCs. But in terms of completeness of available services, these 5 cities were top class. These 5 major cities had been set to be starting cities as expansion packs increased the game's contents. All players on the Japanese servers had to choose one of these 5 cities as their base of operation. There was also an intercity transport gate in each of them, so it was possible to move instantaneously between these 5 cities. But they were not functioning right now. It means that going to Shibuya is still okay, but the other cities will be difficult.
Even if it is Shibuya, how many was it? We need to go through 7, 8 zones to reach it?
The shortest distance is 4 zones, Shiroe replied casually. The intercity gates being down was a major problem. Elder Tales, which used a fantasy setting, used horses or walking as a primary means of transportation for adventurers. But with the implementation of the Half Gaia project that created this world at half its scale, traveling this way took too much time. To deal with this issue, the game had ferry rings and the intercity transport gates as an alternative means of travel. The intercity transport gates were set in the player cities, allowing you to teleport instantly to any of the 5 cities. With these gates down, the difficulty of commuting with faraway cities had increased rapidly. Take Susukino, for instance. It was situated in Sapporo on the map of Japan from Akiba. From Tokyo to Susukino, you needed to go through a huge amount of zones. It would take at least a week, even in the game. That was referring to in-game time. But in-game time should be the same as the time of this new reality from the look of things.
Can you imagine why things would turn out this way?
Shiroe and the others could only answer with silence. Seeing Maryelle's dejected expression, Shiroe wished to answer this question, but he didn't have the ability to.
Cheer up, One-san! Things are serious now, but it could be worse.
Is that so?
Naotsugu continued talking to the depressed Maryelle.
Even though we are trapped in this alternate world, there should be tens of thousands of Japanese here, right? Including the hundreds of thousands of players overseas, we have so many people in the same boat as us, so it's not the worst case scenario, right? We have a common language, some money on hand, and we can talk in this room after barging into this world. Isn't this the best evidence? I haven't confirmed it yet, but our stamina seems to have strengthened according to our character's stats. And we can use swords and magic. In other words, we've been given the basic ability to survive in this world. Compared to classic fantasy novels where the characters travel to an alternate world, we're much more fortunate. You can even say it's a piece of cake.
Naotsugu encouraged her strongly.
Are you familiar with such things, Naotsugu?
I'm quite alright. I read quite a bit about this when I was still schooling.
Even though it was a pointless question, Shiroe was still impressed by Naotsugu. That made a lot of sense. Shiroe was used to seeing things pessimistically. That's why he missed the cheerful part.
Yeah, you're right.
Maryelle seemed to be the same. She looked at Naotsugu with gratitude and hugged him all of a sudden.
Yeah, you're right. Naotsugu-yan, I'm impressed. I'm so moved. You've saved me.
Hold on. What's with her?
Naotsugu struggled under Maryelle's embrace, but Maryelle ignored him and hugged him tight.
Marie, you have visitors?
A lady wearing spectacles knocked as she entered. She had an awkward expression as she looked at Maryelle and Naotsugu. Sorry to intrude, Henrietta.
Hello, Shiroe. Should I come back later?
I was hoping you could stop her.
On it. Really? Hey, Marie, don't act in such a shameful manner.
The lady entering on Shiroe's request was Henrietta, in charge of the guild's accounts. She pulled Maryelle back by her shoulders and lectured her.
What? Henrietta, I heard some great opinions. Naotsugu is right. He gave such a great speech. I'm not asking about that. Now is a crucial period. Consider the situation.
Seeing the blushing and exhausted Naotsugu and the interaction between Maryelle and Henrietta, Shiroe laughed. Henrietta was a core member of the Crescent Moon Alliance and on good terms with Shiroe. She was a bard in charge of the guild's finances, a competent character. From Shiroe's perspective, he felt close to her since they both wore glasses. But looking at Henrietta in this alternate world, he felt this feeling was just his one-sided opinion. With wavy blonde hair, an oval face, and sharp chestnut eyes, she had a beautiful style like a secretary. She was wearing office clothing that showed off her mature and graceful beauty, which suited her very well. Shiroe was just a student who liked gaming. When their eyes met, Shiroe felt he could not handle her. After Henrietta joined in, the four of them talked about their experiences so far and summarized their situation. But it had only been half a day. They still didn't really understand what happened.
What should we do now? I think we should get in touch with our comrades through telepathy to avoid any confusion.
Henrietta made a calm suggestion, and Shiroe agreed. Don't think too far ahead, just do what you could do for now, or you would be swallowed up by the current state of affairs. This is what Shiroe felt.
That's right, Marie. Shiroe and Naotsugu both made good points. Fortunately, we have a guild hall, so for sleeping at night, it might be a bit of a squeeze, but I think it would be better for everyone to sleep here for now. That's right.
Henrietta and Maryelle's conversation made Naotsugu flinch. What is it, Naotsugu?
Nothing. Just that it's so sudden, I'm not sure what to do.
Naotsugu denied in a hurry when he heard Shiroe's question. He was always making dirty jokes, but seemed so weak to direct attacks.
Is Naotsugu-yan weak against breasts? Want a touch?
Naotsugu averted his eyes at Maryelle's words, although he still took a peek. Breasts held the hopes and desires of men, after all. Mary is a beauty with a big bust, after all. I can understand. Shiroe agreed in his heart. Shiroe was also bullied by Maryelle when they first met. But Shiroe insisted on putting on the attitude of, what about these two lumps of fat? They're heavy. Please take them away. There was no need to emphasize on it. That was just Shiroe trying to be vain. The Elder Tales then was just a game, so the teasing was just through the conversation, while the screen showed their characters sticking together. Maryelle had stopped teasing Shiroe this way recently, since she probably got bored of it.
Why is this One-chan acting so bold? It's kinda scary.
Marie came from a girls' school, and Osaka people will become like that in those kinds of environments. Marie, it doesn't matter since this is a game, but now is a crucial period, so restrain yourself.
Maryelle bore Henrietta's lecture with a dejected expression. The fact that she would humbly accept criticism, even though she was the guild leader, was Maryelle's good point. Shiroe did not join any guild and didn't trust the guild system. But that didn't mean he disliked players in guilds. It had been several years since he developed his hatred of guilds. He didn't really get over it, but he was able to accept it now. He had formed parties with Maryelle and Henrietta several times. Maryelle, with her wide network of friends, also gave Shiroe a lot of help. If Shiroe was not mistaken, the cheerful Maryelle, who liked to take care of others, would keep her distance from Shiroe, who was afraid of personal relationships, as a way to show her concern. Mary is mature in a different way from Naotsugu. She didn't do it to curry favor with Shiroe, or to balance their mutually beneficial relationship. The blessings that came along with Maryelle's personality and kind nature, she didn't just give to Shiroe, but to all those around her. Shiroe thought so. But this type of skinship is troubling. Oh, right, Naotsugu is similar to me. That's why they hit it off so well. The Crescent Moon Alliance members probably gathered here out of their admiration for Maryelle. It was a heavy responsibility to take care of almost 20 guild members. Since Maryelle was a trustworthy and kind player, Shiroe decided to explain in detail everything that he had considered. As Shiroe explained, Maryelle paid special attention about the issues with battles and pointed out questions. She frowned when she heard about the number of people in the server and the conflicts the players might get into.
I see, you're right. After listening to you, I think that it's very possible. Apart from violent incidents, there might be scams and pranks as well.
Unlike Shiroe, who only needed to look after himself, Maryelle needed to protect all of her comrades, and she was also a woman as well.
That's right, listen to him, One-san. Don't do that again. You need to have some common sense. Having a small brain is no good.
You're right. My breasts are big, but my brain is small. But we just met. Do you need to be so ruthless, Naotsugu-yan? Naotsugu-yan is annoying. Idiot! Idiot! No, Naotsugu has a point. You need to correct this habit you have of hugging people since high school. These things don't matter, right? Henrietta, your real name is Umeko anyway. I told you not to use that.
From the way they interacted, Henrietta and Maryelle knew each other in real life. He was not sure how much of the serious topic went into their heads. Shiroe's head started to hurt. Really, let's ignore this stupid girl. So we can't solve our current situation anytime soon. I think it would be better not to have such expectations. Shiroe answered Henrietta's question.
Isn't there something we can do about it?
Maryelle frowned as she said this, unable to accept that. Although he empathized with her, Shiroe had already thought about that. That's why they were collating information now. The information on hand was too limited. Among all the things they could do, they prioritized gathering data, but that was not what everyone else would do. Maryelle was not like Shiroe and Naotsugu. She had to protect a lot of people as a guildmaster, but at the same time, she had more ways to handle things. Guilds might be a common entity, but their structures varied. The goals, activities, and scale differed for each guild. They were organizations that could be very different from each other. In terms of contents of activities, an example would be battle guilds. One form of entertainment in Elder Tales was fighting. These types of guilds were made to support the members in battles. Their activities were raiding, either in the open world or dungeons. Adventurers joined these guilds, as it was convenient for them to form parties and to fight as a team. Since the members knew each other, they would be more inclined to invite each other to form parties, and their teamwork would also be better. Akiba was the biggest city, with the highest number of players on the Japanese server. The famous battle guilds were the Black Sword Knights, Honesty, DDD, and West Wind Brigade. Another type was production guilds. Apart from the battle abilities of the Elder Tales main classes, there were also all kinds of subclasses. Players who chose a production subclass which could forge items were known as artisans. The levels of the main class and subclass were separated. You could train both at the same time, but there were some who relied solely on the subclass skills to enjoy the joys of running a business quietly in the city. These types of players would join production guilds, which could have a very grand scale. As guilds had the ability to provide ingredients in bulk, as well as warehouse usage, they enjoyed more advantages the more people they had. Famous production guilds in Akiba were Oceanic Systems and the Roderick Firm. Maryelle's Crescent Moon Alliance was a small-scale adventure support guild. These guilds supported both battles and production, a guild that helped each other and their members to achieve their goal. As they didn't specialize in any domain, their members didn't stand to gain much benefit. But the selling point was the warmth and peaceful atmosphere. Most small guilds belonged to the adventure support style. In this group of guilds, Crescent Moon Alliance enjoyed quite a bit of fame. They were not as famous or influential as major battle guilds, and their income and scale paled in comparison to production guilds. But their support for mid-level players and their flexibility in doing things received a good evaluation from other players.
Anyway, I think we should protect ourselves.
Correct. From what I see, there are a lot of girls in this guild, right? Henrietta nodded at Shiroe and Naotsugu's points. Although battles were restricted in the city zones, there was no telling what might happen. There were also no ways to confirm if the battle restrictions were still in effect. We need to find out about this later, too. Shiroe added a new page to his mental note. Also, I think you should recall all the market items you put out for sale.
Market? Why?
Because... The market here referred to the services provided by NPCs in major cities. Players could deposit their goods with specific NPCs and set a price to sell them. Although the players usually traded among themselves, if they had any excess crafted products or ingredients, the market was a convenient feature. Crescent Moon Alliance should have a lot of resources, right? I think the members also deposited a lot of items to sell at the market. Even if it is still early, the price might change drastically. The items might have some new effects or way of using them. If you can spare the cash, I think it is better not to sell the items you have on hand.
Yeah, understood. You're right.
Also, we can't check things online anymore. Maryelle and Henrietta nodded their heads seriously. Elder Tales was a huge and unbelievably complex game. The amount of information in the game world could not be taken in by any single player. The trusty tools supporting these players were online guides. The maps and features of each zone, how to get to a specific area, what monsters would appear, items, where you could meet which NPC, and so on. Browsing for information as you played was the common way to play Elder Tales. Although the online guides were not perfect, it would still contain popular zones or effective ways to grind. They would also note places that you should definitely stay away from. We came this time to exchange information, and information will be important from now on. Everybody remembers that today is the update of the expansion pack, right?
Novosphere Pioneers, correct?
Yes, not only new zones, we will also need information, for the old zones as well as the city. Right now we can't check online, even if we run into any minute problems.
That's right.
The four of them then proceeded to draw a map centered around Akiba based on what they still remember. They also included all the hotel rooms, small ruins, and the personal space rented out to players, like the Guild Hall. They also included the field zones, including the forest, hills, the desolated suburbs and relics, as well as the relative fewer dungeon zones that included the underground metro or gigantic building structures. But such zones still numbered in the thousands. Even Shiroe couldn't be sure he remembered all of them clearly. The two of them compared their recollections with Maryelle and Henrietta, and drew a serviceable but imperfect map of how the zones were connected.
Thank you, Shirobo and Naotsugu-yan!
I have been in your care all this time, after all.
This is nothing to worry about. Maryelle gave Shiroe a smile like a sunflower as she said this. Mary's smile deserves full marks. Whenever I'm tired or frustrated, it is still full marks. I hope I can be the same as her. I can't leave Mary alone after all. Although Shiroe thought he had done his best, his words were unable to express his feelings.
What? Even Shirobo is saying this? I'm finished. I'm fated to be a brainless, dumb woman. What should I do, Henrietta?
Start by restraining your playful nature. Shiroe averted his eyes in a hurry.
Want to touch my breasts? Do you want to?
Maryelle tried tempting Naotsugu after seeing Shiroe ignore her. Naotsugu knocked her head without a word.
You hit me?
Shiroe thought Maryelle's actions were a way for her to conceal her embarrassment, but Naotsugu seemed to be doing the same thing in hindsight. It was interesting to see Naotsugu stop her.
Don't you have the ability to reflect on your actions, you panties girl?
Don't say panties. And what's with you, Naotsugu-yan? Are my breasts so bad? Are you treating me like a grandma?
I don't know for sure, but you're not at grandma level yet. We should be about the same age, right?
Naotsugu whispered his birth year to Henrietta, who nodded her head.
Marie is 3 years older than you. So I am at the grandma level after all. An inferior product left on the shelf. That's why Naotsugu-yan is turning into a bad boy and acting rebellious against me. My poor breasts, already treated like brinkled puddings.
Maryelle swung her legs on the couch to express her dissatisfaction. She is still obsessed over this in this kind of situation. She deserves my respect in another sense. She had this kind of energy the first day she was stuck here. It must be Maryelle's nature. Shiroe was speechless. But Naotsugu patted her head, seeing Maryelle throw a tantrum. Although it looked like someone soothing a big dog, Maryelle was starting to calm down. It is about time to go. We have stayed quite a while. We will observe the situation outside some more. After making his intent known to the disgruntled Maryelle and Henrietta, who had serious faces, Shiroe stood up.
Yeah, we should go. Sorry for intruding.
It had been half a day since the tragedy happened. Some people might have pulled themselves together and battled with monsters once or twice. Shiroe and Naotsugu bid farewell to the two still sitting on the couch.
I apologize for my poor hospitality,
said Henrietta politely. Maryelle stopped swinging her legs, stood up and looked straight at Shiroe and Naotsugu.
Shirobo, Naotsugu-yan, it might not be the right time to say this, but would you consider for your own convenience? Would you like to join us? That is, to join the Crescent Moon Alliance.
Maryelle said this hesitantly, unlike her nature.
It's nothing important. I know you don't feel comfortable staying in a guild, Shirobo, but in the current state of affairs, I think it would be helpful to join a guild. I think Naotsugu-yan is also not in a guild, so I want to try asking.
Her troubled expression evolved into a face that wanted to convince them. From her voice, she didn't want to strengthen her guild by making use of Shiroe and Naotsugu, but out of her pure kindness.
Our guild is very relaxed and won't tie you down, all right? We won't do anything that irritates you. The young ones here also challenged dungeons together with Shiroe before, right? Like the underground of Shinjuku or the Nakasu commercial building. I don't know why Shiroe hasn't joined a guild yet, but I feel our Crescent Moon Alliance is a comfortable place to reside in. What do you both think?
Maryelle was not sure how to interpret Shiroe's silence, and added these words while gesturing with her hands. Her smooth green hair swaying on her white healer robes, it looked like her way of showing concern in Shiroe's eyes. Naotsugu looked at Shiroe in silence. These eyes were saying,
"It's up to you."
To stay here, or to continue to roam freely. That was up for him to decide. Naotsugu expressed this to Shiroe. Shiroe was not in middle school anymore. Even though he still had misgivings for being used like a piece of equipment, he was able to let it go. But a feeling he was unable to describe in words was hindering his decision. Sorry, Mary, but I can't yet.
So that's how it is. Yeah, it can't be helped then.
Maryelle had an expression of regret for an instant, but smiled as usual straight after. Her smile was as cheerful as a sunflower, giving Shiroe a sense of salvation. If they could go back to the original world, if they received the miracles of God due to some coincidence, if Shiroe walked past her in the streets, he was confident he would know it was Maryelle. Her healer robes, that head full of smooth hair, these were all equipment for the 3D models of Elder Tales. But Maryelle's smile belonged to Maryelle alone. No one else could emulate her. It was not a smile the game engine could recreate anyway.
Just let us know if you need anything. We'll be happy to help.
That's right. Just find me if you need a reliable guardian.
Yeah, Shirobo, Naotsugu-yan. Thank you both. Contact me if you need anything as well.
Shiroe waved goodbye to both of them, and hoped to be as strong as Maryelle himself.
To read along with Log Horizon, or to read any other fine light novels, go to Baka-Tsuki.org. Baka-Tsuki.org. If you want to voice a character for audio light novel Log Horizon, contact me at youtubecontact22@yahoo.com. If you want to pay for your services, I can pay some money, just not a lot, and I am willing to negotiate a price. You can also volunteer if you wish. Again, just contact me at the specified email address. I'm also willing to reply to any constructive criticism, so if you have any ideas for audio light novel Log Horizon, please leave them in the comments. If you like audio light novel Log Horizon, please leave a like or a comment, as it really does motivate me to do these.